will need a little more reflection, perhaps including revisiting at the level of the African Union its definition of the African regions, which, as you may know, goes back to the Lagos Plan of Action, which defined these 5 regions, urging for deep integration among the 5 regions, and then ultimately fusing all of this into a continental union. With specific reference to the application of Morocco, my understanding is that from now on, the ECOWAS Commission will have to bring some more clarity in terms of the implications for the fundamental text of ECOWAS, particularly its treaty, and present the full implications of membership of Morocco, and for that matter, other countries, because an admission of Morocco obviously sets a precedent, and then what do you do? What will be the response if other countries want to join? Tunisia, for now, observer status, but could be asking for full membership. Other North African countries, Algeria, Libya, Egypt. So I think by asking for this work and a fuller report, it is indication that the issue is probably more complicated than it appears on the surface. Well, yeah, the fact is that Morocco has very friendly relations, economic relations with many of the West African countries, if not all of them. But then so do many other countries. So the issue becomes, what is the criteria for membership of any regional organization, and what should be the response if another country requests to join? We are informed, for instance, that Chad also indicated its willingness to join the ECOWAS at some point, I believe in 2010, 2011. At that time, the response was that Chad is in Central Africa. It is not in West Africa. You see, so all these issues then come to play, because some will argue, and correctly, that in the case of Chad, it has border with Niger, with Nigeria. So at least with 2, member states of ECOWAS, and perhaps in that case even a stronger case for membership, if we see what Chad has, the role that Chad has played in the fight against Boko Haram, in the fight against extremism in the Sahel, and continues to play deployment of troops in Mali, in Niger, its role in even northeast of Nigeria. So one has to approach this perhaps a little with more circumspection than has been the case so far. And then let's hope that in December, the ECOWAS Commission would come with more clarity as to criteria for membership of ECOWAS, and then that will put things in the correct perspective. Well, I mean, this issue continues to be raised in any discussion of ECOWAS. Nigeria, by the size of its economy, by its historical role in the region, its role in peacekeeping in a number of countries, Liberia, Sierra Leone, has demonstrated strong leadership in conflict mediation, financial contribution. So it is always expected that Nigeria will be in the lead on these issues. And then now that there are some very key issues before the organization, including broadening membership. There is a feeling by some that they are not seeing a clear position of Nigeria as the traditional big brother in West Africa. But of course, there are other dynamics, as you have mentioned. Nigeria has some internal issues which is preoccupying it at this moment, including, of course, the situation in the Northeast, the situation in the South-South, and even in the middle belt of Nigeria. A number of security challenges may be distracting it from playing its key role. The impact of the huge drop in oil prices, which is forcing Nigeria to have to restructure its economy and focus on how to deal with huge loss of revenues, it's also an important factor. Then, of course, very soon again, we'll have before us another election. I mean, in fact, in less than 2 years. So already, the question of leadership and party politics is taking a prominent role in Nigeria at this point. On the other hand, we must say, and we should acknowledge that there is strong leadership emerging in other countries in the region. In Côte d'Ivoire, which has come out of its civil war, rebounded very strongly economically. Yes, there's still some lingering issues of national reconciliation and security sector reform, but what is not in doubt is the strong leadership that we see in Côte d'Ivoire, strong economic growth, which is very important for other countries in the region. You know, in Senegal has always demonstrated strong leadership in the region, and then even now you have Guinea, presiding over the African Union and demonstrating, strong leadership in the region. So these are all compensating, perhaps, for Nigeria right now being more preoccupied with its internal situation. And it's good. I mean, a regional integration project must have co-ownership. I should add that the new president in Ghana, for the first time upon taking office, decided to visit all ECOWAS countries to send a signal that he will make the ECOWAS integration project a priority of his government. And this is healthy. All countries must demonstrate a commitment and at one point or the other have an opportunity to lead the organization. And that's why when I was at ECOWAS, I was very strong in rotation of presidency of the ECOWAS Commission, which we achieved after I left, on alphabetical order. This way, every single country at one point or the other will lead the organization. No country is too small to play its role, a proper role, in the integration of West Africa. Similarly, I actually advocated and had adopted as a text rotation of ECOWAS chairmanship, president and executive. It should rotate with a clear calendar so that every country knows that at some point or the other, it will have its term. If it's 5 years from now, they start preparing for it. If it's 6 years from now, they start. But that unfortunately has not been implemented, and I hope that the organization will move to it. If we had that, for instance, in UM1, the last crisis of leadership would not have arisen. There should be a clear calendar of rotation. at leadership of regional integration organizations. That's one way of making everybody feel belonging. And it's not based on a size of a country or size of its army. No. We're all members of this club. We must have equal opportunity to lead it. And that can help to build solidarity and build a sense of belonging to a regional integration organization. I think, first of all, it comes down to, in my view, two things. We can approach it in two ways. First of all, at the level of political leadership, all countries must have a sense of participation, that no country will be left out at the highest level of the management and running of the organization. That means, let's get a clear understanding of which are the statutory posts, pull them together, and ensure a clear calendar of rotation. I believe in that principle that we should have a rotation which allows all countries, big and small, at some point or the other, to be involved in the political decision-making and running of the organization. Then all will believe and have a sense of ownership of the organization. There's a second level where we need to put a lot of emphasis then on efficiency and good governance of the institution. During my term at ECOWAS, we abolished quotas, so that positions were not based on allocating to a country, because the experience with that was very bad, and it didn't necessarily bring people with relevant and critical skills into positions. So there, we need to open it up to a professional search for people with the relevant skills. But again, very mindful of ensuring a geographical balance. And again, making leadership, having a conscious effort to make sure that I'm looking for professionals, but we will do this in a manner that is equitable geographically. But importantly also, to begin to take into account very seriously a gender balance, because that has been something that has been lacking, that if you look at the staff, you do not have insufficient number of female senior staff in the organization. That needs to be corrected. The financial stability of the organization needs to be taken, into account. At some point, you have to have a right balance, not to, disperse too much of the resources just on, recurrent, expenditure, staff, and the programmatic. The balance between the recurrent, salaries and other expenditures, and the programmatic budget needs to be right. And I know that the thumb of rule was that no more than 40% should be spent on recurrent, and 60% of the budget should be on programs. Now, whether this has been achieved or not is another question. In fact, some people will say that to even be more effective, it should be 30 to 70. So one needs to ensure also that you have effective structures and supervision and accountability mechanisms put in place to make sure there is value for money in the running of the organization, because the ECOWAS is an organization of relatively, poor countries. So it cannot be that, poor countries make the sacrifice and the effort to provide resources for the organization, and then it is not effectively and efficiently utilized to achieve the objectives of the organization, deepening integration in all the different sectors, both policy integration, trade integration, economic into agricultural integration, building of cross-border infrastructure. These are the core areas of integration. So the resources that member states make available should be utilized in a manner that reflects that these objectives, that there is true free movement of persons, goods, and services, and that the other obstacles are removed. You look at the area of creating of common external tariff, that this is operational and effective. If it's in the area of trade liberalization, that goods are able to be moved across countries in compliance with both the ECOWAS and the UMOA trade liberalization schemes. So these are issues that are very important when we talk also about the restructuring or the retooling of the organization to make it deliver and have impact in the various areas of integration.